videos, I described the milestones and the timelines of how long it would typically take for you to get your PR number and the number of interactions that IRCC usually has with SUV applicants. I also covered the founder-related questions that IRCC can ask of applicants. If you missed those videos, then click the link in the description below and watch those videos first. In today's video, I will go through the business-related questions that IRCC will ask startup visa applicants. I'm Andrea from Yala, Canada, and I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant specializing in the startup visa program. I actually moved to Canada on this very program myself, so I not only have a deep understanding of the inner workings of this program from an immigration consultant standpoint, but have also got the insight into the unique fears and challenges from a founder's point of view. So let's jump into these business-related questions that the IRCC can come back to you with. You may not be asked all of these questions by the IRCC, but you can expect to be asked several of these over a period of time.
The most common question that is asked of all startup visa founders is, please provide your proof of incorporation. Now, in most cases, you will be given about 7 days to respond to this question. This is actually more like a softball question because you would have definitely incorporated your business by the time the IRCC actually reaches out and asks you this question. Now, you will need to send your company's certificate of incorporation and the articles of incorporation. It is not mandatory, but it is also helpful to highlight your name as director in the company if you are a director. Also, it's not mandatory, but do also provide the cap table showing that you own at least 10% of the shares in the company so that the IRCC does not need to come back to you later asking for the cap table. A related question, and often it's a follow-up question from the IRCC, is to provide evidence of your shareholding in the business that has been incorporated. So for this, you could either share your cap table or you could ask your accountant to download your corporate profile document from the CRA. Alternatively, if you have written the shareholding percentages in the articles themselves, then you can simply share the articles and highlight the place where the shareholding is mentioned. Note that shareholding of 10% for each founder is required at the time when the company was incorporated. So if by chance your company has grown and you have raised capital and issued new shares resulting in your shareholding dropping below 10%, that is not going to be an issue or a problem. Alternate way that IRCC could come back to you asking a question about your incorporation is when they say provide an official registration or permit required by a federal, state, county, or local government to conduct business. Now, this is just another way of asking for your incorporation documents, so you can simply respond with your certificate of incorporation and the articles of incorporation. Additionally, if you have any other approvals, for example, if you are in the medical field or in the food industry where you would need to have other approvals as well from other authorities, you can provide those approvals to IRCC as well. The next very common question that is asked to almost all founders is, please provide an updated business plan. Sometimes the question reads as, please provide an up-to-date business plan. Be sure to include your market research and your growth projections. This is one of those questions that you don't want to wait to receive in order to start working on it. Given the fact that you will have only probably 7 to 14 days to actually respond to this question, I'm always advising my clients that they need to start working on this and have an updated report ready every month just in case they are asked this question by the IRCC. Furthermore, it is highly advisable that you do some market research in order to validate your initial assumptions when you had applied for the PR and the work permit. Now, you could either do this as a formal market study, or you could be diligent in documenting your learnings as you interact with prospects and customers in the marketplace. You also need to keep in mind that the business plan needs to be current dated and looking forward. So you can't just share the business plan that you provided when you initially got your letter of support and applied for your PR and your work permit. Lastly, keep in mind that the business plan does not have to be an old-fashioned 300-page document. IRCC does not specify the length of the document, but it definitely focuses on quality over quantity. So there is no point in including a lot of fluff in your business plan with double spacing to increase the number of pages. It is more important to actually have a good, solid executive summary which can be quickly reviewed by the IRCC officer, and should he want to look at more details or understand the basis for your claims or assumptions, the facts should be there to back you up. Also, do keep in mind that the IRCC officer is not a business consultant, so simplicity is going to be your best friend. Avoid jargon and avoid beating around the bush as much as you can. Remember that this question on business plans is often asked more than once during the application process. So even if you've replied to this question before, do keep revisiting and revising the document so it is always up to date. Another important question that you need to prepare for in advance is business activity, your document describing the primary business activities within Canada. Keep in mind that though there is a single question, you should always include two parts to this answer. Firstly is to describe what it is you do. Basically, what's the problem that your business is trying to solve and how are you going to go about it? Then there is what is done in Canada. Of course, there's also work that is done outside of Canada, which you don't want to emphasize too much. Describing your business activities should not be too difficult for you. Just explain how your solution works by going over its components or going over the customer journey. The more important section to the answer is to detail what components of the solution happen within Canada. This could include your marketing activities, your operations, customer service, or even the more mundane tasks like bookkeeping and accounting. If you have built your tech stack inside Canada, this is the time and place to highlight that fact. Also highlight Canadian suppliers you've used as well and Canadian hires that you have made in your business. A related question from your business activity description, but asked more directly by the IRCC, is please demonstrate how an essential part of your business operations will be conducted inside of Canada. It is also sometimes asked as please explain how you will manage your company from within Canada. The answers to these questions will be pretty much the same as the response to the question without describing your primary business activity in Canada. So describe your process and detail of what is happening inside Canada. More importantly, even before the IRCC asks you this question, do review your business operations and decide in advance what you would be comfortable reporting to the IRCC. So, there might be some arbitrage and therefore money that you can save by running marketing or customer service out of a lower wage country. You could make a strategic decision to run certain essential operations within Canada so you are able to truly position yourself as a Canadian company. It isn't necessary that everything you do must be done within Canada only. After all, if you are a startup with global aspirations, it is conceivable that you will run certain operations out of more globally competitive regions. But if you are running everything from outside of Canada, how are you having a significant benefit on the Canadian economy? And that could be brought into question by the IRCC. Please provide a detailed 3-year financial projection including your sales and your cost projections. This could be another question that the IRCC could reach out to you as an SUV applicant. The best way to approach this is to simply integrate your response into your business plan in the first place. In any case, you cannot have financial projections that are not in line with your business plan. Many startups tend to back end their projections to show very little by way of revenues in the first 2 years and then show dramatic increases after year 3. Please understand that IRCC would be seeing this often enough, so while you think it is a smart way to answer the question, for IRCC, it might be viewed as just another founder trying to push accountability into the future. Now, of course, you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot by showing tremendous progress in the first year which you do not actually achieve. Just from a general business health of a startup perspective, healthy startups do grow fast, of course, on a small base, but it is very routine for startups to show 10-fold growth in revenues each year for the initial years. The other thing to think about carefully, not just from an IRCC perspective, but from a business perspective, is when are you projecting that you'll get to profitability? You have to balance the fact that you don't want to project getting to profitability too quickly and at the same time not projecting it too far into the future. Also, make sure that your business plan shows how you are going to sustain the business if you are not going to be profitable in the first few years. Now, this needs to be backed up by reality. Don't show a cash burn which you are not going to be able to sustain as a business. One of the questions that IRCC could come to you as a startup applicant and ask is, please demonstrate how you will differentiate yourself from your competitors, as similar solutions, platforms, and applications are numerous and probably already in existence. When answering this, it is important to not just make claims of how you are different from your competitors. Everyone does or prepares a grid or a table of their startup versus competitors with a few tick marks for competition, multiple tick marks for themselves to show that they have features and benefits that the competition does not have. It is more important to first highlight the innovation. So remember, innovation is a requirement of the Startup Visa program in the first place. You need to describe how you do things differently, better, faster, cheaper, or even how you use technology to disrupt the marketplace. Then there is no better proof of differentiation than actually having a customer to show for it. So while the Startup Visa allows for your business to ultimately fail, you should work on getting those first customers to demonstrate proof of concept and genuine traction in your business. Now, to get that very first customer on board, it is all right to offer free trials, especially if your customer is a known Canadian brand or company. It would have limited credibility if only your customers came from your home country, since IRCC would take such transactions with more than a pinch of salt. I would also advise you not to fudge any of your transactions. That amounts to fraud, and if you are going to be caught doing something like that, your application could be rejected and you could actually be blacklisted for misrepresentation, which is pretty seriously taken by the IRCC. Now let's come to the most important question of it all. The question that IRCC always asks and which many founders often worry about. Please provide an up-to-date description of the progress and growth level of your business. Please provide supporting documents, proof of contacts made, proof of pilot projects, signed agreements, and so on. Firstly, I would advise you now know this question is coming, so don't wait until it comes to you to start answering the question. Remember, you will only have 7 days approximately to answer these questions, so it's vital that you start working on it beforehand. There are 3 keys to answering this question correctly and competently. Firstly, the test of believability and reasonableness. What does that mean? Now, while the IRCC officer is not a business consultant or an analyst, they know enough to see through the fluff when they see it. Also, the Startup Visa program actually gives the officer significant discretion in their decision making. So, respect their intelligence and answer the question directly and in as much detail as you can, but at the same time without just padding the answer with useless information. Secondly, this requires that first and foremost, you really do have progress to show and to report. So work on your startup in advance, and then you can truthfully provide an update rather than having to make up stories. Thirdly and finally, document everything carefully. Claims without documentation will not be credible. Back up whatever you say with the facts, with the data, and with documentation. This does not mean that you provide a mashup of meaningless screenshots of your email inbox. Organize your response clearly with an executive summary showing the highlights, and where you can provide more details in an appendix, you can do so. The answer you provide to this question is the single most important factor in your success as a startup visa founder. So it's important that you pay attention and have the answers ready, and not when you have only 7 days to answer this question. Now, if you would like to see more information on this, then make sure to comment below and I will make sure to answer your questions. And as well, if you would like a template on how to respond to this question in a better fashion, send me an email from your business account to support@yalacanada.com and I will make sure to have that template emailed across to you. Let's look at a question that's closely related to the progress of your business and absolutely requires advanced preparation. When you get to this question, you should know that you are almost at the end of your SUV journey and the officer will soon make a decision going forward. So the question would read as, what did you personally do on the business, not as part of your team? Now, in many cases, this is the single most difficult question to answer for founders who are relying on team members to carry them through in the application process. So it also serves as a reminder that if one essential member is refused, all members of the startup will also be refused their PR. So the good news is that the officer has probably been happy with earlier responses from the team and is now doing his final checks. And to answer this adequately, make sure that each member of the team is performing his or her role and is actively involved in the day-to-day business. The founder who is receiving this question should not only detail all their responsibilities, but also provide evidence about everything that they have done over the past course of time since they have started their application process. Now, again, for this answer as well, make sure that everything you say is reasonable, believable, and can be backed up by evidence. A variation of this question about business progress could be as follows. I think it is worded a little more aggressively, but if you are genuinely working on your business, you should have no reason to be alarmed by this. The question reads as, what evidence can you provide to prove you will be successful in Canada? Everything I have described about business progress can be placed in your response to this question. Describe the market attractiveness, the problem that you and your company is solving, how you do it differently from your competitors, explain your business model well, and how you will make money, and of course, all of the traction that you've had in your business to date. A direct question that could come from the IRCC, for which a correct answer goes a very long way, is provide details of any hiring you have done. Now, the startup visa program doesn't actually spell it out, but it is finally about job creation and employment generation. The Government of Canada hopes that enough startups succeed so that thousands of jobs are created and the economy is benefited. Now, do remember that every job has value. So even if you are able to create one real job in your business, that is to your credit. Besides spelling out job creation, you can also mention how you have used Canadian suppliers and benefited the Canadian economy overall. As always, please don't just recruit your friend's spouse or a friend of a friend as an employee and provide them a T4. But if you recruit an employee, it should be genuine and the employee should have a genuine role within the business. You are totally allowed to hire a spouse or a family member, and you might do this for various reasons, such as helping them to build their Canadian work experience or helping them to build their credit score. But clearly disclose that such recruitments are with related parties, so it does not come across as misrepresentation, which is taken very seriously by the IRCC. Let's jump into some of the finance related questions that the IRCC could ask you as a startup visa founder. Number 1, please provide details on the amount of investments made, who is investing, and if there will be any future investors in the business. So here you will simply provide a statement of the facts. While the startup visa program does not mandate the amount of investment that needs to go into the business, here is where you display that you have in fact made an investment into the business. And without an investment amount, no reasonable person will believe that you actually made a genuine attempt to make your business successful. Another finance related question could be, please provide proof of financial situation, including the statements of the past 6 months. This should be simple enough to answer, but along with the financial documents, make a note to highlight the investment by the founders, cash in hand, burn rate, runway available, and of course, revenues, if any. A question related to investment that is not so commonly asked is, have you applied for or obtained any grants? Now, while it is easy and there wouldn't be anything wrong in replying in the negative to this answer, it is an easy way to demonstrate some progress and belief within your business. So even if you aren't successful in obtaining the final grant, it is a sign of progress that you have actually been shortlisted by the authority who is offering the grant. And a grant application process has the additional benefit of requiring you to document your effort and progress, which you can actually use in your business plan and progress updates. If you have a co-founder who is performing the role of a CFO, it also gives him some ongoing work to keep himself active. Now, an occasional question that the IRCC can come to you as a startup visa applicant and ask is the intellectual property patentable? If so, please confirm if a patent has been applied for in Canada or in other countries. Now, here keep in mind that the startup visa is all about innovation. So, the IRCC places tremendous value on IP creation. Now, we understand that startups are usually cash strapped and have better use for their resources. But if you can spend approximately $5,000 it takes to get an IP lawyer to describe your IP strategy, it could be money well spent from an IRCC perspective. The downside could be that it will have very limited business advantage or actual return on investment. Where you do need to be careful is that if you as a founder actually have an IP and it is owned by a foreign entity, you must get that IP transferred formally to your Canadian startup. You cannot be in a position where your Canadian startup does not own IP, but rather it is another foreign company that owns the intellectual property. An easy question to answer is, please explain how you will financially benefit from this application. Here, make sure whatever you say is in line with your business plan and your financial projections. Do remember that you don't need to pay yourself a salary through your startup in the early years, since it results in an unnecessary tax implication. So don't pay yourself a salary just to be able to claim economic benefit. The economic benefit could be in terms of profit sharing or raising additional investment within the company. Now, here's a question by the IRCC that indicates to me that IRCC will still need to train its officers about the startup visa program. Provide a detailed settlement plan in your province or city of destination. The SUV program is, of course, a federal program. So, you are in fact free to reside anywhere in Canada except Quebec. Besides that, it is hardly a question that is even relevant to startups. if you do receive this question by the IRCC, you can simply respond with why you chose the city where you have set up your business and what activities are being done in that location. If you've received a question from IRCC that I haven't shared or covered today in this video, please make sure to mention it in the comments so we can together enhance our knowledge as well. And this is Andrea Bailey from Yala, Canada. If you have any questions on how to succeed in your Canadian startup visa journey, do feel free to reach out to me. Wishing you all the best on your journey to Canada.